Hi, it's Amanda again. We're going to make another craft from the Complete Encyclopedia of Crafts from 1975. Today we're going to make Volume 1, Lesson 1, clay beads. Literally just using some polymer clay from Michael's, which is the kind that you bake in an oven. 275 for 15 minutes for every quarter inch is what they say. The beads, 15 minutes each. And it didn't take very long at all. Takes longer to make them than it does to actually bake them, which is kind of cool. So we'll make a few today and I'll show you what they look like all painted up, and that will be lesson 1. So to start with, I already made a few of these the other day just as a test. This was just plain polymer clay. It was a natural, looks a little bit white when you're using it, but when you bake it up it turns to this bone color. And you can paint them up however you want if you like the way they look like this. Made a few different shapes. The second set here is the same. I just put some acrylic paint on them to see how they would take the paint. So black and white. And this third set, I got a little creative. Sad but cool. There's no paint on these ones. This is an actual white polymer clay and a dark brown polymer clay. So you don't need to paint them if you get the colors. So the book, it gives you basically a really long explanation for how to make long beads, round beads, square beads, how to finish them, how to use a kiln, which I don't have. That's here. If you do have a kiln, you can zoom in and take a look. The self-hardening clay, it says give several days in the air to dry. Sand them before you put the kiln. You can sand them to polish them up a bit. I've read that in a number of different places. I am not an expert on any kind of things clay. I'm literally at lesson 1, book 1. So please, if you know more about clay, have at it. They say different things you can put inside to make the hole. They say use spaghetti. I didn't use that. I used a toothpick. I used the end of paintbrushes. I used a couple of really long boards to roll them to make them smooth. I'll show you all this as we go. So my tools today, I was going to make a joke about just grab your wood carving tools if you don't have any kind of knife or sharp edge will use. This is just to cut the pieces down. A couple of toothpicks, which I've used for painting and rolling. A long-handled, skinny old paintbrush, which I'll show you, but it's that skinny end to make the hole in the middle, and later to hold it while you paint it. Here I'm using the white, so not the one that looks like bone when it's done, but actually turns white. And I'm going to open up my blue. This is the brand I'm using, again, just got it at Michael's, Sculpey. It is the oven baked clay. The instructions are there. There you go. This was like $3. It looks really small, but it does actually, probably the two of those would make one necklace worth of beads, depending on the size of beads you make. So I learned my lesson the other day, and I'm going to start with the white so that the blue doesn't transfer over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this piece that I've already got sort of mashed up, and I'm just going to work it into a circle. The thing I forgot to add was I'm going to use a couple of hard coasters. We're going to make a long bead. This is to roll it and make it smooth. So pressing just lightly, rolling it out, making it nice and smooth. Got a nice piece. I'm going to cut it, I'll use this long end, into smaller chunks, roughly the same size. So we'll keep this out. I just take the toothpick, kind of twist it in. Goes through really nicely. Kind of get it all the way around, and then you can kind of roll it back and forth. It'll come back to a nice smooth edge. And you end up, sometimes one side of the hole is a little bit bigger than the other. Oops, smooth it out. And you end up with one long bead. Let's make a few of those out of the white. I think we're going to make a couple round ones, so I have roughly 2 even sizes. And I'm literally going to make a ball like you used to when you were kids. Nice long oval. It's going to push in when I push the thing through. Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm just going to roll it. Kind of smooth it down if you want a flatter one. I'm just going. I have no plan here, people. No plan at all. I just know I want a relatively big hole. I want that because I want to put yarn through it and maybe thread it on my macrame. You don't need it to be this big. If you're just going to put wire through it, it can be as big as spaghetti. But I know I want these for my macrame at some point, and I need it bigger so I can put a couple strands through or one big strand. You basically just want some even sized chunks. Roughly. I'm going to make little squares right now, so I'm making small chunks. Literally just 2 fingers here, 2 fingers here, squeeze, and keep turning it until you have a cube. Same thing. Clearly I'm not going to roll that, but I'm going to keep moving it so I'm not squeezing too much on one side. And this is where I used, because I want the bigger hole, right? So I'm gonna, there we go. Just press in those ends a bit. And you will have a square. This seems pretty basic, but remember it's lesson 1 of book 1, so I think it's meant to be basic. And all throughout the encyclopedia, I've been kind of, I don't think it's going to be all the time, but they seem to build on their earlier lessons. Like some of the macrame call for you to use the beads that you made. Which is why I went back and decided instead of just doing all the macrame, I'm going to maybe start with lesson 1. That way I'll have the beads when I need them. So the spiral, I wanted a really long snake. Remember making snakes when you were a kid? Long and thin. Bet you didn't need a tutorial to show you how to make spirals, but here you go. Now the trick, which I might have screwed up already, is to not have it stick too much to the brush, because then you're going to have to squish it to get off, which I think I'm going to have to do. You can just get it to turn a little bit. There we go. Pull it off. Push it back in place a bit. Don't fiddle too much with it, but you have a hole. Let's use this. You have the hole already. Rudimentary bead making with Amanda. That's what I should call this one. So the last type of bead I'm going to make today for this video, I'll have the different ones to show you the necklace at the end. One of those squares cut in half. I'm going to make the buttony type ones, which are the easiest ones to make. A little bit bigger chunk. Make yourself a circle. I liked how these looked once they were on, and then I just pressed it flat. Take my, just make a hole. Boo, boo, boo. Nice big hole. I'm just making 2 of each of these to show you for the video purpose, but I'm going to make a bunch. I'm going to use up all the white and all the blue, making these same shapes over and over. And get those nice and flat. and there. There you go. You got the long macaroni type, the little ovally beads, squares, spirals, and let's call them buttons. I am going to repeat this over and over with the remainder of the white and all of the blue. And then I will come back and show you what they look like after they're baked. Okay, so I have used up all my blue and all my white. This is all baked nice and hard. This one's even still a little bit warm because I had to put that in for, I went double the amount of time because it's thicker. So my plan is to string these all up on a piece of twine. For now, who knows where they'll end up. This is for video purposes. You can always unstring them for macrame. That was going to be my big middle piece. And I'm just going to spend some time threading some beads. And although I'm not done yet, this is kind of what you end up with. I've strung them on some twine. Use whatever you want. You can make it a bracelet, you can make it beads. Saturday afternoon crafts with your kids, whatever you want to do. It's chunky. It's kind of kitschy. Definitely interesting. And my skill level is pretty rudimentary. But you could probably get some interesting things done if you had some imagination. There you go. Lesson 1, Book 1, from the Complete Encyclopedia of Crafts from 1975. Clay beads.